Welcome to Leafs Quick Hits. I'm Chris.
And I'm Sil.
And the Leafs started off April well with a couple of big wins. And the bigger one, obviously, is versus the Florida Panthers and a shutout win versus the Columbus Blue Jackets on Saturday night. So lots to talk about, but there is some NHL history going on too, with Alex Ovechkin tying Wayne Gretzky's NHL scoring record. Ovechkin now has 894 goals in his career and will go for the record versus the Islanders on Sunday, which is today. Right now, I'm watching that right now to see what's going on. But yeah, no, it's incredible. Never thought I'd be seeing it again. I do remember a little bit of when Gordie Howe was following Wayne Gretzky around when he was setting the record to pass Gordie Howe. But Ovechkin, it's amazing. Ovechkin has tied the 894 goals in 486 games, and Gretzky did in 1,486 games, and Gretzky did it in 1,487 games. So only
that's the thing that really shocked me is that he's basically doing it in the same time frame.
Yeah.
And one less game to tie it, right? So it's pretty incredible actually when you think about that.
Yeah. And
but then I look at Gretzky's other records and like I look at his assists and no one's ever going to get that.
Yeah, no.
It'll never that. Okay, I will be surprised if maybe I guess now we can say never because obviously no one thought this was going to go down, right? Yeah. And in truth, health willing, Auston Matthews could break this one too, potentially.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at where he is in his career versus where Ovi is, he's like, right in that ballpark, potentially even higher. Like, I don't know. I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah.
But yeah. So like no one thought this record was going to go down. So I guess you never say never, but that like, I don't know. It's like almost 2,000 assists. It's like insane.
Gretzky definitely has enough records that he'll be talked about for a long time to come.
For sure. And I mean, let's not forget Sid. Sid beat Gretzky's record of more than 20 seasons with a point a game, like something like that. Yeah. Like so, he beat Gretzky's record there that way. So these are just two different things, it just goes to show you what a complete player in that era Gretzky was, because Ovi, he's a little bit more one-dimensional, like he's more of the scorer. Yes, he's got almost as many assists as he has goals. But yeah, like Gretzky was like really the real playmaker and happened to also score a lot of goals.
Yeah. And so today I was actually looking, I guess Chris Johnston said it on his X account, the tickets for today's game versus the Islanders, they're going for, there was only a handful of tickets that were going for less than 1,200 a ticket. Lots of Capital fans there though. That was, I could see in the crowd, they showed it on TV here, but yeah, he was, and apparently standing room was like just under 1,000 or something like that. It was just insane, the amount of money. And I
don't really recall that same kind of thing with Gretzky, people following in the prices being.
I don't know about the prices because then, I mean, it wasn't whatever. People weren't really paying attention to that part of it too much. I do remember the part with Gordie Howe and him following him around. And
that part, but fans, I don't really recall there being that much. But you know what? We might not have heard about it as much because, of course, like any kind of minute.
He was playing with the Kings too, right? So on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it's a great achievement for Ovechkin and his little kid, the little boys. They're so cute.
Yeah. And I saw a video of his son on the ice with him, and that kid has got a heck of a shot. So he could break his dad's record. Wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah. Because I couldn't believe, like, from pretty far out, he lifted it and roofed it. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah. And one thing for our listeners to know too, if you go to our YouTube channel, it's amazing. I looked it up just this morning too. The game that we went to versus the Capitals in December, we took a video of Ovechkin doing a pregame routine. I don't know if he does it all the time. Anyways, it's quite interesting. It's the most views that we have of that video on our shorts. And it's
for this
over
season?
18. Yeah, for this season. And it's over 18,000 right now.
Wow.
On that. So our listeners
it just goes to show you like how fortunate we are to be able to see these great players live, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so fans should go check it out if they want to see it on our YouTube channel, and make sure you subscribe too while you're there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So speaking of our fans, we also want to take a minute to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. And in the month of March, we had some new listeners from some different parts of the world. So we had people tuning in from Finland, Bulgaria, and Turkey. So we want to thank you for listening to Ladies Talking Leafs, all our fans throughout the globe. We very much appreciate you. And it's always exciting to know where Leafs Nation is throughout the world.
Yeah. And we know that we're everywhere, but it's just amazing to see these country like Finland's a hockey country, right? So there I could see, but Bulgaria and Turkey, it's nice. It's nice to see Leafs Nation coming out in those countries as well. And we'd love to hear from all of our listeners with your Leafs questions and comments. DM us on any of our social media profiles, X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads. Our handle is at LTL1917. And if you're watching on YouTube, the handle again is the same, LTL1917. Leave us a comment, and don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button.
All right, so now it's time to get into the Leafs quick hits of the week. All right, so it's a very sparse week as far as games go, but we're all looking forward to the game versus Florida on Wednesday, and that turned out to be a pretty big win for our club. Gave us some distance from them, and it was a 3-2 win. And we need these division wins to basically, as we're taking aim for that win, top of the Atlantic Division. That's where we sit right now, and we will need to hang on to that. But anyway, some details from the game. The Panthers were obviously without Barkov, Tkachuk, and Ekblad, but they still had Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, Carter Verhaeghe, and Vezina Trophy winner Sergei Bobrovsky in goal, as well as a pesky Brad Marchand. Also, the first time we got to see him in red. No, I did a little bit, but anyway, he was there.
And Barkov, it was funny when we were there. I was going to actually say to you, how come I don't? This was like in the second period, in the middle of the game. It's almost like you didn't see him, and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't realize. Well, I didn't realize he wasn't even playing.
Case.
Just in case. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. You're playing who's playing, right? So still, I think it was a really well executed game by everybody.
But Bobrovsky, he played like he was on top of his game.
For sure.
That like he was his Vezina Trophy style self, and he made some huge saves off of, especially like Bobby McMahon had I thought he had, even though he didn't score, he had a really good game. He was skating and just showing off his power forward skills there. And
he really, having him on that line makes it so much easier for JT and Nylander to do their thing, and they were dominant in that game, like that line.
And McMahon had that. I was watching the highlights again, but he had the breakaway in the third period. He almost got it in there, but it was just a great to see him going, and that's what we need. We need him healthy and going for the playoffs because we didn't have Bobby McMahon in the lineup last year.
Exactly. And then, of course, Matthews, Marner, and Nyes, they took the game over in the third period. Marner, in particular, got the go-ahead goal, and it started to get it started, and then made a beautiful pass to Nyes for the game-winning goal. That actually was like, that's to me, looking at Nyes, how he played in that game, the type of goals he scores, we were missing that in several of the previous seasons in the playoffs, you know, when he got injured or whatever. So this is going to be key to having a guy like Nyes and McMahon in the lineup healthy for our playoff run.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really have them. And McMahon was hurt last year. So these guys, you know, people talk about, you know, Paul in Tampa.
In Tampa. Yeah.
Yeah. And how he basically, you know, beat us a couple times there when the main guys weren't scoring. You know, these are the kind of guys that could come up big for us in those types of moments, I think.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
with that game winner, though, that Nyes got, like that pass that Marner thread, that, like he was almost at his own blue line.
Yeah.
He got it over the stick of the Florida player. And it just went and then like Nyes was already motoring, like he was on a partial breakaway. The guy was on his back, but that was just incredible pass, I thought, by Marner.
Absolutely.
They really, Matthews and Marner both stepped up in that third period. It's like the first two periods, they were kind of whatever. It was just like they weren't going. And it was that first game back from the West Coast trip. And then,
they were kind of a little bit ghosts in the first, especially Mitch. I found that in the first two periods, he was really fighting it against all the extra contact he was getting. And he was just looking like the typical disappearing act, you know? But like they really turned it around in the third.
Well, that's what I think, actually, when you say the physicality part of it. Like Florida had 39 hits and we had 25. And you even said at the game, it was like they were Florida was trying to run us out of the rink, basically, with the physicality. But kudos to the Leafs. Like they took it for the first two periods, and then finally that top line got going.
It just goes to show you, though, if they can fight through that and get through that, their skill will win out. You know what I mean? They just need to, like they did, find ways to not let it take them off their game. So anyways, before we move on to the next game, we want to mention Anthony Stolarz. You know, he didn't play great the first couple times he played the team, but he played really, really well against them this time, and he made some really big saves, especially in the second when the Panthers had 16 shots on goal. So he was pivotal in keeping us in, and I think it goes again, you know, if we're looking at, like, to me, it just really seemed like a playoff game. And in this way as well, that you want your goalie to make the right save at the right time, and he did that. So you can't necessarily expect them to get shutouts for every game, but, you know, they're going to let some in, but they got to save the right ones to give their team a chance to win, right? And he did that.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of the shutout, perfect timing there. He got the shutout the next game.
That's right.
Move on. Let's move on to the game versus the Columbus Blue Jackets on the Saturday night. It was a total team effort, in my opinion, for that. I mean, it was great to see Nick Robertson come back in the lineup after replacing David Kampf, who got injured in that Florida game.
As JD Bunkis likes to call him, scratch and score. He gets scratched, comes back and scores.
Yeah. So it was, he actually, I was reading an article from Lance Hornby, the Toronto Sun, and the last 4 times he was a healthy scratch, Robertson, he's come back with at least a goal or an assist in the next game. Right. So that,
but to me, that's also good for the playoffs. Like, I think most people are thinking that he's probably not going to be starting in the playoffs, but we all know people go down. There's injuries. There's changes that need to be made, depending on the opponents and stuff. Like, to have a guy like that can come back into the lineup and contribute immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, would all of us love that he be more consistent and keep this up game in, game out? For sure. But to have a guy that is such a weapon like that maybe the team you're playing hasn't seen for a bit and comes in and can do that, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And you got to figure, I mean, Max Pacioretty, like, I don't know, he's like, how, I don't think Max Pacioretty is going to be able to play every single game.
No way.
Assuming we go on a long playoff run, hopefully.
I question how is he going to have his conditioning up to snuff? I mean, it's going to ramp up, and it's already ramping up. We've seen that, and he's not part of that right now.
No, I know. It's going to be interesting to see, but you can tell from a little bit reading between the lines of Craig Berube's comments, he's looking forward to having Max Pacioretty back. I mean, he's a good player, obviously, and he's changed his game this year to play a more heavy style, but that heavy style.
No, and he's a guy that has gone the distance in the playoffs too. Like he's played a lot of playoff games, so you've got experience there, right? So anyway.
So anyways, going back to Robertson, he had the 2 goals in just over 10 minutes of ice time. And then, of course, there was our friend William Nylander, who also got himself 2 more goals and now has 44 on the season. And from Leafs PR, he's moved past my friend Wendell Clark for sole possession of 9th on the Maple Leafs all-time goal register. So
I know that's bittersweet for you.
Yeah, but if we can go far in the playoffs, I mean, the other thing is, do you think he can get 50? 6 more goals, Willie. He has 6 games to do it.
I mean, I think it's possible.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how important it is to him or not, but
he has it in his mind, because I watched an interview after last night's game versus Columbus, and it's there. But I mean, he just has this little smile on his face when they ask him about it. But like he acknowledges it that it's there, but whether or not.
But do you like just looking back to when he started? Like, I don't think it was ever in my mind that he would get
50
to
goal
this.
Score. Yeah. No,
I got to give him all the credit in the world for, the work he's put in, and he was always, Slick Willie, he disappeared for big stretches, and those stretches are getting much fewer and farther between now where he's not noticeable. So I'd say that's got to give kudos to him.
Him and JT, they're basically really, that pairing is really driving that line together. And
I kind of feel like this is what we've always wanted to have. We've always thought, okay, we've got these 2 lines and it's hard to match up against both of them, but we've never seen that yet where you have them both going, where you cannot, no team can take their foot off the gas against either one of them, because, either one of them are going to hurt you.
Yeah. And then that's where this whole thing with Pacioretty coming back has me a bit concerned. I hope he doesn't put him, just replace McMahon. I think McMahon and Nyes on both of those lines are similar players that make those 2 lines great, really good.
Well, and why would you want to mess with that chemistry? In that moment, I just think that would be a huge mistake. I mean, I don't get paid to coach the Leafs, but I mean, in my opinion, I wouldn't do it. But anyway.
Yeah. And just a quick note too, just with Auston Matthews, he scored his 30th goal of the season. And I don't know, he's looked good the last 10 games, I'd say, from about mid-March.
Yeah.
He's really looked different, that he's shifted a gear, basically. Although last night he fell on one point. I was just it was just he got tripped up as he was headed towards the net and for the shot. And I was like, that was a pretty big tumble there. But he got up. Everything seemed fine. And in February, I guess since February 1st, Matthews has a point in 19 of 23 games. So it's actually gone back to February 1st, just before that 4 Nations, that he's been slowly ramping himself up. And then, and then Anthony Stolarz, of course, he got the 2nd start in a row, and he got the shutout, making 27 saves. So that was,
but do you think,
see.
I mean, I think a lot of people are talking about, does this mean that, Berube's leaning towards him being the guy? So what do you think of that?
I do think so, and that's what everybody is saying. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with this back-to-back coming up this week in Florida. But he. I mean, either one of them to me is good to start in the playoffs. I do think like they're both going to play in the playoffs, whichever one it is. For game one, it's probably going to be Stolarz. It just seems that from Berbe's comments too, like he just likes the way he's playing the last few games, and yeah, but the team itself, I don't see any difference between how they play in front of Stolarz or how they play in front of Joseph Woll. I don't see
and actually I think we've talked about that before earlier in the season, that's something that we both noticed that we haven't had that in the past, where it was just that same consistency, same trust of both goaltenders. So yeah, I think either one, you're going to be fine. I mean, Woll played great in the playoffs for us last year until he wasn't able to make that start,
Right.
Who knows what would have happened if he was still in there playing as well as he was up to that point. So,
yeah. But it will be interesting obviously it comes down to the opponent too. And we don't know who we're going to be playing either. Right. So I'm sure like the Leafs coaching staff there, like they're going to look at all the stats and numbers and everything. And they're going to go with the guy that's, that has the hot hand, but also has a good record, obviously, versus the opponent, which, we'll see what happens.
Well,
but
and before we move on from this game, I just want to say that like Columbus usually has our number, and we looked like we should always have looked against Columbus. That was a dominant win.
Yeah.
And that was a statement win in a different way, whereas this is a team that is still vying for a wild card spot. And we kind of dummied them yesterday.
Oh, for sure. The third period. Like we took over in the third period.
100%. So to me, our team is looking like there's some confidence building there. And I thought after that win versus Florida, oftentimes we have like a real letdown where a team like this comes in and we maybe take our foot off the gas. We didn't do that on Saturday night.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good sign personally.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and we definitely need that going into the final stretch of games here. And there are only a couple of games, I guess, going in, or only a couple of games this past week that we had, and one player made a big difference in both of those games.
Yeah, we've already mentioned him a little bit in our first segment here, but our star of the week for this Leafs Quick Hits episode is Stoli the goalie, Anthony Stolarz. So huge win on Wednesday night versus his former team, the Florida Panthers, making 29 saves and helping the Leafs clinch a playoff spot for the 9th consecutive season. He looks confident and really big in the net, and he got his second shutout of the season versus Columbus as well on Saturday night. His teammates said that Stolarz is laid back when in the net, but always focused on winning. And as the Leafs head into the playoffs, we want and need that type of attitude between the pipes for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it was also his 5th straight win too. So that, I guess he's, again, with what we were just talking about, having his 5th straight win, he has the hot hand right now.
For sure.
Anthony Stolarz does. He's only allowed 8 goals in those 5 games. So that's a pretty good stat too. It's funny because after the Columbus game, he said after the game, he's not your typical weirdo goalie, right? With his, I guess, personality. He likes to hang out with the guys. I guess maybe most goalies, they like to be by themselves. And the teammates, what I found funny too, I guess Matthew Nyes and John Tavares, they both said that and Chris Tanev too. He said that they all said that he's always yelling during the game. He's yelling at them, telling them like, get out of the way, or the guy's coming, or like there's a screenshot, or if some guy is coming up behind them or whatever, like he's screaming back there apparently. Like,
oh, that's good actually.
Yeah. Well, Marner said it too. So all of these teammates are saying that they really like that about him. The fact that he's always on top, or if somebody's coming off the bench from the opposing team, he's like yelling at whoever it is that's close to him, saying so-and-so is coming on, like be on the lookout kind of thing. Right. And not that language probably, but yeah, no, I thought that was hilarious that he's like, and like he's yelling at them to get out of the way. Right, but Tanev's probably trying to block the shot, and he's telling him to get out of the way. But he covers. Like, I mean, he's a huge goalie. Obviously,
yeah, it's like a big bear in there.
Yeah, so he covers the net quite well, as long as like.
And for a big guy like that, he moves really well. So,
yeah. So, but yeah, no, this week he got us both wins, and he got the shutout. So he's very, very much deserving of our star of this week.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to be heading into the second last week of the NHL regular season this week. And the Leafs are in first place right now in the Atlantic Division, as we mentioned. 4 points ahead of the Lightning and 6 points ahead of the Panthers, who've taken a little bit of a dive at not a very good time. But I guess, they do have all those injuries. So anyways, just a little bit of a note. The Sens, who are in the first wild card spot, are only 4 points behind the Panthers with 6 games to go. And actually, I did hear somebody talking about that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't it be hilarious if we were trying to avoid Florida and then we end up playing them in the wild card spot?
Yeah,
it just goes to show you there's really no point in wishing for opponents. You're just going to play who you're going to play, and you have to be ready no matter what.
Yeah. And right now, all of the us, Tampa Bay Lightning and Florida Panthers, Ottawa and Montreal, we've all played, as of Sunday when we're recording this, we've all played 76 games. We all have the same number of games played. Montreal is on a heater right now as well. And Hab fans are just, they're going a little bit over the top, I think, with their team. I mean, Suzuki's been playing well, but, and that kid Lane Hudson obviously is, I guess he's probably going to win the Calder, or he's right up there for it, or as Rookie of the Year. But yeah, I don't know. They pretty much, I mean, the Habs have 83 points, and right, I guess below them is the, let me look at the wild card. Sorry, I'm looking at the division. So 79 points. The Rangers are behind them with 79. So I don't know. I kind of think Montreal and Ottawa are going to have those wild cards.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Ottawa, they're far enough ahead now that I think they're going to be hard to catch.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. But like you said, we're basically going to have to wait probably until either the last or the second last game of the season before we figure out who the Leafs are going to be playing. But this week is probably going to decide who wins the Atlantic, as the Leafs are in Florida to face the Panthers on Tuesday night, and then they go to Tampa to play the Lightning on Wednesday.
Yes, and then the Leafs come home to play the Habs for their final Saturday night tilt at the Scotiabank Arena, which will be another big game. So I would like for us to put them in their place. Anyway, then they head to Carolina to play the Hurricanes on Sunday. I can't believe 2 back-to-backs in 1 week. What the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. Finally.
Really? Who makes these stupid schedules?
I don't know. And especially at the end of right at the end.
I know.
That.
I don't know. I just.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So, yeah, it'll be, I expect most likely Stolarz, I would think, is going to get the start on Tuesday night versus the Panthers again. I don't know.
You think so? I thought that maybe Berube, if he's not 100% decided, could give Wall that game to see how he plays against them. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, and give Stolarz the Tampa game.
You may as well see how he does against them.
Yeah, because they'll be. I don't even know Tampa's schedule when they're playing next, but it's good. Obviously, it's good to have both guys playing the different opposition anyways, just to get a feel for...
I mean, they're both big games, so...
Yeah. And Tampa's been playing phenomenal. Right lately with Kucherov is going, Vasilevsky in goal. That's the other thing about Stolarz too. Like and I'm sure Wall as well as a goalie, like they always... But Stolarz mentioned it in particular. Like he said, looking down at the other end on Bobrovsky, he could see that he was at his best, and he wants to match that and be better. Right. So that's the kind of mentality we like to hear going into the playoffs. But yeah, the playoffs are only a couple of weeks away, and we're looking forward to a long playoff run for our Leafs. So make sure you come along for the ride with us, and hit that subscribe button on YouTube, or follow us on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. You can also listen to the show on the Believe Network at Believe.com. It's BLEAV.com. And don't forget, we love hearing from our listeners. If you are listening on Spotify, answer our poll question. And if you can, it's very quick and easy way to give us your feedback on the show. And you can also leave us a comment on YouTube or on social media. Our handle is at LTL1917.
And a reminder to check out our Ko-fi page at Ko-fi.com. And while visiting our Ko-fi page, please consider supporting our show and buying us a coffee. Any donation goes towards helping us produce the show and making it even better for you. You can find the link to our Ko-fi page on our show notes or in any of our social media profile pages.
And as always, thank you to our healthcare workers and first responders for everything that they do.
And we thank you, as always, for listening and watching Ladies Talking Leafs. Till next time, go Leafs, go.
Do you believe?